Hi, I'm Natalia. Welcome to my channel. This is where we talk about native-like fluency. I'm not a native speaker myself, but it's important for me to continue improving my language skills, my English skills, my communication skills in the English language. And today, I'm inviting you to join a conversation with a guest of mine. I've invited a very interesting person. When I just started my business back in 2014 or 15, she was in my first pilot group that I actually organized in my own home. I had a group of students who would come to my apartment and we would practice communication skills together. I was just testing my method, and this was the very first pilot group. And we have been in touch ever since. She's also very interested in improving her communication skills in the English language. And I'm inviting you to join this conversation because I think it's going to be an interesting one. Hi, Ksenia.
Hi, I'm Ksenia. Thank you for inviting me here.
Do you mind telling people a little bit about yourself? I know that you spent 15 years of your life, you devoted 15 years of your life to a career in a luxury brand, right?
Yep.
I think you were busy, or I believe you were responsible for opening retail shops in Moscow, right?
Yeah, I was responsible for retail business in Moscow.
And 15 years later, you decided to give up and do something completely different. What is it that you're doing right now?
I'm getting a postgraduate degree in lifestyle journalism. I would never thought I would do something like this, but here I am, and I'm taking my final exam in 2 weeks.
Okay, I guess you're very busy preparing for your exam right now.
True.
Right? So lifestyle journalism, what is it even about? And by the way, are you taking your program in English or in Russian?
Yeah, this program is in Russian.
Okay, and we're having this interview in English, obviously. And how long have we known each other? Maybe
5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years.
I believe it's we have known each other since 2015.
Yeah, and this is just amazing. Time flies.
True.
I don't believe it. And you've always been doing something for your English skills. You've always been learning English in some way. Why do you need English right now? Like right now, you don't work for a company anymore. You are not in this international corporate world. You are getting a very different degree. By the way, what is it going to give you? Like, what are you going to get? What are you planning to do with this degree?
I want to focus on communication,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I'm still interested in improving my English skills as well, as English is a language which is used all around the world, and it is used for communications. So it's, for me, of utmost importance to continue improving it.
And are you looking for or are you going to look for another corporate role after you are done with your degree?
I'm currently deciding what is the best way for me to do right now.
But it's going to be a role in communications, and you're sure that...
Yeah, it definitely will be another role, completely different from what I was doing before. And that's for sure.
You think you will need, or you're sure that you will need your English skills, right?
I'm not sure, as right now on the market there are more Russian companies offering positions, and there are not so many international companies. But anyway, English is the language of the world, so I would need it at any stage.
How would you feel? Would you feel okay if you completely lost it? Like if you stop? Because at some point, when you stop practicing, you start losing your skill. Look, let's imagine the hypothetical situation. You start working at a Russian company. Your role is all about internal communication strategies. You never need English in your life. And
sounds like a catastrophe.
Okay, why? It's interesting because, when I ask people what motivates you, what drives you, everybody gives me this buzzwords and this cliche phrases. Even teenagers.
I need it for work.
Even teenagers, 13, 14-year-olds, when they come to my meetings, to my club, and I ask them, why do you learn English? The first thing they say, and they look at their parents so that, Mom, am I saying the right thing? I need English for work. Everybody in this world needs English. English is very important. It's not really their thought. It's not really what they think, but it's kind of, this cliche phrase that everybody says when they get asked a question, why do you work on your English skills? And people, I think it's very comfortable for people to think in this pattern. It's like, okay, I have a very clear goal. I want to get a job at an international company. So I'm going to learn English. I want to relocate to another country. I need to improve my English skills.
Yeah, that was why I joined your pilot group back in 2015, because I wanted to relocate.
That was your motivation back then, right?
That was my motivation back then, but now my motivation has changed.
You probably don't have that finite goal anymore, but the motivation to improve your communication skills is still there. And that is interesting to me. Why would it be a catastrophe if you lost all your English skills?
For me, English is the core thing about English for me is that I can communicate. And if I lose these skills, then it means that I would communicate less effortlessly, less effective. And I don't want this. I want my speech to be clear and concise and structured. And if I lose everything about it, it would be really weird.
You mentioned that it's important for you to communicate. Is it a question you ask yourself, who am I going to communicate with? Or do you mean communication skills in general, communication skills that...
Yeah, I mean communication skills in general. You can meet all different people on the way, and you're better to be able to speak to them in their language, or at least in their foreign language, but in order to communicate your message clearly. And I also need to order food in different kind of restaurants. So without English, it would be hardly possible.
You mean anywhere in the world?
Yeah, anywhere.
Not here, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you can relate to that as well, because when I continuously improve my communication skills in English, I notice that it has very positive impact on how I communicate in Russian.
True.
You've noticed that too?
Yeah, I've noticed this too. And I think we've discussed it a lot during our lessons together, because it's not always about the language, because the way I communicate my message in English, it's very much alike with the message I'm conveying in Russian as well.
Because it all starts with our thinking.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
we think first.
But in Russian, I don't pay attention to how many mistakes I got and if I articulate clearly or not. And in English, the way I think when I'm speaking, it's way different. And that's the point.
I think it's also true that when people communicate in their first language, as you said, they simply don't pay attention.
Yeah,
but
you're just fluid. You don't care.
Yeah, but not till mistakes.
Even if you make mistakes, you're still not really paying attention to them.
And people, because they do it every day and everybody understands them and it's their first language, I think people also stop paying attention to how they structure their thoughts and how they actually think. But when you learn a different language, when you acquire a foreign language, you actually translate all those broken and abrupt patterns.
Yes, that was very painful when I
started studying. Directly into English.
True.
So what exactly was painful? What do you mean?
Yes, the whole idea of understanding that my message is a mess. And I don't have a clear message to convey. I think that was the
thought process, right?
That was really painful, and that's why I started to write more, as it helped me to deliver a better speech.
I believe that writing is a powerful tool because you can actually see how you think. You can look at your own thought patterns.
Yeah, and anyway, writing helps to improve neural pathways. So
I mean, to build new ones.
Yeah, build new ones. And improve the ones that I have already. That's why you remember more when you write it down. Even if you don't look at this note
That's actually true. Yeah. Even if I never come back to my own notes, but if I wrote them down, I'm going to remember them better.
Yeah.
Than if I just looked at them. That this is so true.
And funny enough, I was working for a luxury company whose core message is writing, like the art of writing. Really? And so that's why writing means a lot to me, and I have many pens on my desk, and I really tend to write way more, even in our digital era.
I'm so afraid that the future generations will simply lose that skill of writing with their hands.
I haven't lost it so far. I write a lot.
Sometimes when I tell my students, look, you gotta take a pen and write it down, very often people will go like, oh, I don't even have pens in my home anymore. It is like, it's that absurd. People don't even have a pen at home anymore because they write everything with their thumb or they type everything. But it would be scary if we lost that skill, because so many sections in your brain, so many things are happening, and you're helping yourself to learn when you write.
And writing is another way of communicating as well.
Yeah, and even communicating with yourself, have taken an honest look at how you think, at what your thinking patterns are, and you can actually not just look at them.
Yeah, and that's the reason why many great people they write diaries.
Yeah, you're actually very good. Your writing skills are very good in Russian, because some of your interviews, some of your articles get published in magazines, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to do better.
Is it something that you learned as well? Is it something that you practiced deliberately, better writing skills in Russian, or is it just a natural gift?
Yeah, I don't think it's a gift at all. Yeah, I need to work a lot on the writing skills in Russian as well.
In Russian as well.
And it takes time. And the more you know, the more difficult it gets.
Yeah, I always say the more you know, the more you understand, the more questions you have.
Yeah.
And the more you understand that you know nothing. Look, when I remember, okay, you were in the first pilot group, then you took the public speaking course, and I guess your motivation back then was also to relocate to a different country. And then
I took confident writing course.
And then you joined.
Also, I was very lazy student at the time, and I didn't do a lot.
And you were also in my first Native-Like Fluency group, and I just started this project. You were the first person to join the group
last year. Exactly May 2020. Yeah.
Actually, yes, a year ago exactly. I launched this group exactly a year ago in May 2020, where I realized that I need to share the systematic approach, so that it's not just a bunch of different exercises, but I combine it in a system. And I felt that I had to share the system with people so that they can continue learning this on their own. And then...
Yeah, and for most of them, the algorithm and the methods you're using, they were completely new. Yeah. So they had to adapt.
They had to just learn, maybe adapt, maybe learn, but not adapt themselves. I always say you don't need to adapt yourself. You need to adapt the method, so that it agrees with your personality.
That's what I mean here.
Yeah, so that you can use it in your everyday life. My point here is that it's important to understand what kind of person you are before you learn how to speak better. If we look at the public speaking standards.
You need a lot of self-awareness here.
Yes.
And not only in life in general, but also while learning a language.
Exactly. Self-awareness is probably key. So it's not just, you're not just acquiring some external knowledge all the time. Give me more grammar, more rules, more content. You have to understand how you function. Be aware of your own personality and your own learning patterns so that you can acquire new knowledge. Let's say,
I agree with you.
What is an image of a successful public speaker? Everybody, I think, will imagine someone enthusiastic, joyful, full of energy, right?
Yeah, but if you are not that kind of person in your real life, it would look bizarre. Really.
Exactly. And when a person who is naturally shy, and remember, I'm not sure you remember the girl, but I had a student, and she joined the public speaking course because she suddenly got promoted. And she was in finance. She worked in finance, and she didn't have to present her ideas to the world. She simply had to motivate her own team of financial managers, a team of 15 people or so. And she said, I'm terrified of speaking to my own team because I never had to do it before. And she's naturally shy. She has a very quiet voice. And she said, I cannot be that entertaining speaker that people expect me to be. And she thought that this is an image of a successful speaker. And the solution we came up with together with her is that I said, well, you know what?
Just be yourself.
Well, I said, you know what? You don't have to speak louder. For her, it was a torture to speak louder. She said, I can't speak louder. I said, Luba, you just can come closer. Because seriously. And she is amazing.
And what's about social distancing, which is happening right now?
That was a few years ago. But the point is that she is amazing during one-to-one conversations. You really want to listen to her. She's very good at explaining her ideas, but she just couldn't be that entertaining speaker. So it's important to understand how you function. And that was actually the idea behind this. That is still the idea behind this Native-Like Fluency group. And then you got busy with your life and you stopped taking classes, right?
Got busy with my degree, right?
Yeah, you got busy with getting your degree. And how long haven't you taken any classes or haven't practiced English? Because you told me before this interview that you've had a break.
Yeah, I've had the longest break I've ever had, and I've had a 7 month break.
So is it correct to say that you haven't spoken English? You haven't practiced English for 7 months?
No, not really. I believe I had few talks, but...
You mean a few conversations with people?
Yeah, a few conversations, but they were really very few of them.
How does it feel?
Yeah, now it's
7 months of lack of practice.
Yeah, it feels weird. It really feels weird. And I understand that I kind of abandoned the that I was concentrating on so much. I just quit taking classes, and that's it. I live my life. I do my stuff. I study other things. But it was like I don't need any kind of improvement, and I immediately stopped practicing, doing our lovely TED karaoke or any other practices that were kind of routine during our course, but I just didn't need it because I didn't want to improve. But now I understand that it was very necessary to continue doing something in order to be kept on the same level. And now I feel that for sure I lost some of the vocabulary and collocations I used. For sure it is not that easy for me to intonate well, although I spent like 5 or 6 months improving my intonation and pronunciation skills. And it's very evident that it was a wrong decision just to quit doing anything. Yeah, it doesn't mean that I was not using language in general. I read some articles. I was listening to some podcasts or videos or interviews, but I was not. But it was just a passive kind of consumption.
You're passively consuming information, right?
Yeah, I just consumed this information and that's it. I didn't act myself. I didn't write a lot. I didn't speak. And while we all know that even if you don't have anyone to speak with, you have lovely phone that can record you.
Yeah, you can always record yourself.
Yeah, and you can communicate with yourself. And this kind of method was definitely known, and I would be able to do so, but I didn't.
Oh, trust me, this is an exercise that most people find very hard to understand and accept. Like, why would I speak to my phone? Why would I record myself? It's not enough to just know that this exercise exists. It's really important to learn how to work with this feedback. What do you do with that after you record yourself?
Yeah, and you need to do something instead of just knowing.
Just knowing, I sounded bad. I will not listen to it anymore again, ever. That's not the point of the exercise.
It would be very embarrassing.
Yes, exactly. When people are just starting out, they're so uncomfortable with their voice. And the point of the exercise is not just to record yourself. You need to know what you do next with this recording. But I just want to clarify one thing to pick up on what you said. You said that even though you knew, like you had some kind of established routine when you were working in our group and you had homework, you were doing certain things. And
kind of daily one,
even daily routine, and you know the exercises that you can always go back to, right? The TED karaoke exercise, recording yourself or listening, active listening, whatever. And then your life priorities changed, and you realize that you need
and there are still 24 hours.
Yeah, we only have 24 hours every day. So when your priorities changed and you decided to start taking this program, in postgraduate program, you said that you stopped because you realized you don't want to improve. Is that right?
Yeah, I thought that it would be enough.
Oh, you thought that was enough.
That would be enough to keep the same level I was seven months ago.
Okay, you thought that you don't need to do anything to maintain the same level. Is that right?
Yeah, that was my mistake. Yeah.
And how do you feel it now? Because I know when I invited you to do this interview, you said, "Oh, I'm nervous because I haven't spoken English for 7 months."
Yeah,
right.
That was my main thought. Yeah. I really hesitate. Like I didn't hesitate whether I need to join this conversation or not, but I was really scared. What if I couldn't speak? What if I wouldn't be able to find a proper word? What if I forget how to pronounce something? What if I omit some grammar rules that I know, but I just didn't use them for a long time?
How is it feeling now?
It's getting better.
It's getting better, right? I can relate to that. The longest period in my life where I spoke zero English was 1 year when I lived in Germany. And the first year I moved to Germany, I had no one to speak English to, and I was so busy improving my German because I had a very clear goal. I wanted to enter the German university, and it did, but I spoke zero English for 1 year. And when I started speaking English again, it was both a relief. Wow, I haven't lost all of it. But
yeah, it's really a relief.
But at the same time, it was so painful, you know. I could hear myself. I can't say simple things.
And you just feel stuck. Yeah.
And you feel stuck. And I can relate to that feeling. Absolutely. And that's why probably I developed this practice routine for myself, and I share it with people because I don't want this feeling again.
Do you know what I was doing today when I was preparing for our conversation? I remembered that we were reading a lot during our Native-Like Fluency group, and I decided to just read, not to do a proper TED karaoke exercise because I didn't.
You mean reading out loud, right?
I was reading out loud, and I was reading out loud one of the TED karaokes I know, like The Danger of a Single Story.
It's a beautiful text.
Yeah, it's a beautiful text, and it's a beautiful speaker, and it has a lot of meaning inside. And I was just reading it, like whole 15 minutes talk. Sometimes I was checking myself with thesaurus on English or other resources if I needed to check the pronunciation, because she's a native speaker, but she has a very special, I wouldn't call it accent, but her English is a bit special. So I just wanted to double check that the word is pronounced in the same way, like she did. Yeah, it was. She pronounced all the words correctly, but it was my perception that she was doing something wrong.
What was the result of this exercise? So look at this.
So the idea was to help my mouth to articulate in a foreign language better, because it's like all this th and other sounds which are very common in English. They are still a pain in the neck for me, but at least I help myself to do it better, to use the language in the way I need to.
This is interesting. Look at what you're saying. So there was a problem. You identified a problem.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken for a lot of time. I need to train my mouth and my jaw muscles and whatever. And then you didn't ask me, Natalia, what should I do? You found an exercise yourself.
Yeah, but I knew what I need to do. I just need to do it.
And I think that's the beauty of it. Like, you know what you can do, and you know how, like, you did it. You know exactly how much time you need to do it. So you take 15 minutes, and you know what you do with all this information, and you know what you learned from this exercise.
This time it took a bit longer, so 15 minutes talk, but I was reading it out loud for a bit longer time. Probably I spent 30 minutes for that, because I was checking myself with the dictionary and...
So what did you achieve after completing this exercise? Like maybe some changes in your inner state, or, well, obviously you didn't improve your English dramatically after 15 minutes, but what was the point of doing this exercise?
30 minutes do not really help. Actually it was great to realize that I still have the skill, even if I haven't practiced a lot during the last 7 months. This is not something that I completely lost. A few days ago I thought that it's just over, but it helped a lot, and it was very easy exercise. Just I picked the talk I know, so I'm absolutely sure what it's about. I'm sure that there are no unknown words in there, and I've heard it many times. And I also was able, I think I did that karaoke with this talk as well.
But it's so funny that you found a way to use this exercise to help yourself in a very certain situation, because I use it slightly differently, and that's fine. But this is fascinating to me.
I adjusted the exercise to my goal.
See, we gotta be creative. You can adapt the exercises to your own lifestyle, to your personality, and the more creative you are,
I think it's really important not to be robust and stick to the only one way of living life in general, and the only one way of practicing. you can change, and it's fine to do so.
You know, it just got me thinking that so many people ask me, and I hear and I read this a lot of people say, okay, I have a very clear goal. Give me an exercise that will help me move toward my goal very fast. I want to be fluent. Give me an exercise. Reading? Okay, I will do reading as much as you tell me if I get there. So how fast do I get there? So, you know, as you said, it's stupid to expect
there is no shortcut.
Yeah, it's stupid to expect that a 30-minute exercise will get you to the next level. But you understand very clearly that this 30-minute practice can take you...
It's definitely better than nothing.
But it also can take you to a different inner state. You feel different about yourself, about your language, your level of confidence changes. And this is more important than acquiring external information, more and more information, consuming more words, consuming more grammar rules.
Yeah, I believe we should more trust ourselves.
Because when you are in this relaxed, confident state, first of all, you remember things better, you think clearer, you communicate easy. I mean, it's easier for you to communicate and you're just more relaxed. And when you're looking for ways to acquire more and more words and more grammar, at some point people just give up because how much more can you learn?
You've got way more to learn anyway.
And you always know that there is more things that you still don't know, but you can do a lot of work to understand yourself and understand how you can learn the language best.
Yeah, and I believe it's also important to understand that you are not a kind of jack of all trades, and you don't know it all, and it's okay not to know something, and it doesn't make you a better or a worse person. You just, if you need it, you learn it, and if you don't need it, you just omit it, you disregard.
Can we talk about these things a little bit in more detail? The things that I mean are the changes in our personality or our inner state. I remember that you told me it was also a completely new exercise for you when I asked you to fill out the progress review table.
Yeah.
So where we actually measured our progress toward fluency. What was so new to you in that table, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, what was new for me, it was definitely that it new and painful as well, that it took quite a long time to fill it. So
to fill out the table.
Yeah, to fill out the table.
Why?
It wasn't easy because there were so many details that made sense.
Actually, the question I believe was, please name the things that you learned. Please name the things that you didn't expect to learn, but you did.
Yeah, exactly. And when you trying to decompose all the things you've learned, or you haven't learned, it could be also the case. It's very important to stay true to yourself and really understand what makes the most difference to you.
So you mean it took longer than you expected to actually analyze your progress and your learning progress?
Because what are the general goals of anyone willing to improve being on an advanced level? So we want to improve our vocabulary.
I want to know more words.
More words. And
more words.
Many
more, just more.
Just more words. We want to improve our diction and pronunciation and intonation. And maybe we just want to speak fluently, and we want our message to be conveyed effortly.
So that was your goal.
Whatever the topic is. Yeah. But I hadn't expected that what I get is not only the improvements in my language patterns, in my kind of language behavior, but also my individual and my really behavioral patterns,
which personally, something personal.
For example,
what do you mean?
For example, I used to be very sad and embarrassed when I got corrected, and I was corrected many times, and not only me, I mean also all the students in our group, and that was hard to accept, that we do mistakes, that sometimes we do the same mistakes, and you correct us all the time. And I definitely remember that you were correcting me with the same issue.
Did it hurt when I was correcting you?
Yeah, it didn't hurt, but you feel bad about it. You like, am I stupid? And you feel shame that you're still not able to do it right, and you are still making the same mistake all the time.
Does the method here matter, like how people correct you, or is it just your perception? Or
no, I believe it's totally my perception of accepting it. Yeah. So I didn't want to to make mistakes
at all, right?
Yeah, at all. So that was a kind of so I strived to be perfect in this imperfect world, and it was not possible.
What was so embarrassing, like the fact that you kept repeating your mistakes, or the fact that I was pointing out your mistakes in the presence of other people?
No, I didn't think the second.
Just the fact that you kept repeating the same mistakes, right?
And it was a shame. Like,
it's like, how can I be making the same mistake again?
Because
right?
they were very alike. All the mistakes that I was making.
Yeah, and it's interesting how we don't hear what we're saying, right? How we don't really pay attention. What we started with today, we don't really pay attention to how we think and what we say. Well, that's interesting. And how does that change?
But during the course of time, I think I got at like it was I was really at ease when you were correcting me, and it was okay. So I accepted that I'm here to improve.
Oh my God, you said accept. I remember that.
Yeah. And it's not the first time when I say it right today.
Yeah, because I remember that
I did my best.
I remember the sudden change in your behavior. I don't remember when it happened, but I remember the sudden change when you
perception means a lot. Yeah,
I need to accept this. And I was like, Ksusha, it's accept. Oh, accept, right. I need to accept this. I was like, whoa, that was fast. No judgment, no, I said it wrong again. Just immediately correct yourself and move on. Yeah.
That one of the words that I mispronounce.
Yes.
Very often.
Your word.
My word.
Yeah, your word. Not anymore, probably, right? But you remember
luckily, I don't need to pronounce turquoise all the time. Yeah,
turquoise.
Which is also a disaster.
I think that's the color of my earrings.
Yeah. That's why.
You remember that word. But do you remember how it changed and why it changed, or you just noticed that this attitude simply changed over the course of time?
I understood that it changed. I don't know the real reason
behind
it. No.
Secret method.
But, secret method maybe. Yeah. Yeah, but it was. Okay. But it was very nice to realize it, really, that you don't need to pay so much attention towards who said and what did you say and what was the mistake. And why did I make this mistake?
You probably still want to pay attention to what you said, but not like why.
No, not I said this mistake. Like I was also concerned what you were saying. Anyway, this kind of and I believe this is a lot about self-esteem in general.
Yes.
So
I think so. And it turns out it's important when you want to learn a language.
Yeah, I believe this is important, whatever the skill you want to improve. But maybe the language is more crucial. It's more crucial here to have a higher self-esteem in general, because it's a part of your personality. So language is a communication. Communication is a part of you, and unconsciously, when you are being corrected, you're in your head, you think that you are being judged, but you don't become a worse person.
Yeah, making this mistake.
If you make a mistake, yeah.
I don't think the problem is really that people need to have higher self-esteem, higher than it is, but it's just you have to be real with yourself. It has to be just realistic. And a lot of people
and to set realistic expectations
to set realistic expectations.
You are not able to improve your level of English, whatever your level is, in just few weeks or few months. It's simply not possible.
Absolutely. And
it takes years to.
And you never know when you're going to stop, and I don't feel like stopping, honestly. But it also
it's also not about the destination.
It's not.
It's about the journey itself.
There is no final destination. I mean, you can see the progress. It's very tangible, because when I listen to my videos that I did 3 years ago, I go like, who is this person? when I read the text I used to write, I go like, who wrote that? I clearly see the progress. And if I remember myself 10 years ago, I would watch English movies, but I would guess a lot of what was going on. I clearly couldn't say that I understood every single word in the movie. Now I can hear every single word that people say, but it wasn't the case. Even though English was my degree at the university, even though I'm a qualified teacher of English, right after graduation, I was very average. My skills were very average.
Yeah, thanks God captions are available.
Yeah, right now the speech recognition algorithms make it easy, right, for us, exactly. But it's just interesting. On this, we had this column in our table. What are the things that you learned but you didn't expect to learn? And what most people write there is the things that they learned about themselves. So, for example, as you were saying, your attitude to mistakes changed. Was there anything else that was important to you?
I didn't expect myself to understand better.
Understand what better?
Understand just generally, understand the language better.
Mm-hmm.
So now I really understand better songs, and maybe I wouldn't be able to say that I understand all the words in the movie, because there are a lot of noise and kind of other sound interruptions, but I definitely understand it better than before.
So you take
even if I haven't seen the lyrics of the song, I can understand it better.
So it takes less time for you to understand English songs or English podcasts or whatever.
And that was not the goal, because the main idea of our group was to improve native-like fluency in speaking. So, and it was...
No.
but our goals were mainly connected with the speech itself, not with the active listening and not with the listening in general.
This is also an interesting thing when people join this group, and only people who have taken other programs can join. Those people who already understand how the method works, they think it's all about speaking fluency. So native-like fluency for them means, as you said before, communicating my ideas effortlessly, so that my speech flows and I don't have to think about the words, and I have all the vocabulary. And I never make mistakes. This is what people expect, but we also have reading fluency, there is listening fluency, there's writing fluency, and native-like fluency, and there's thinking fluency. So it's actually 5D dimension, which is the most important. It all starts right here, and then you translate your thoughts into English or Russian or whatever language you speak. You have to think clearly if you want to speak clearly. If you want to write clearly. It all starts right here. And when you said you got to be real with yourself, I think we also need...
and it's better to use this part of your body.
Yes, it's exactly. Your brain. But I think it's worth mentioning that we want to be real with not only with how much we can handle, because a lot of people plan too much. They say, I am ready to dedicate 2 hours of my life, 2 hours of my day to learning English, and then 2 weeks later they give up.
It's not for everyone.
And it has never been the case for me. I can't remember spending 2 hours a day learning English. Never in my life. Really, never. It was just too boring. It's not how I want to spend my day.
Life has so much to offer.
I find different methods, and I invented my own methods that work, but I could never do that. But you also want to be real with, how you actually think. So when you realistically look at your writing, you understand how you think. And a lot of people are not very real with what they think they hear. So this simple exercise, when you repeat back what you think you're hearing, not what you heard, but what you think you're hearing, because...
and this could be very eye-opening.
This is always eye-opening to people, because they think they understand, they think they heard, but turns out that they need to improve their listening skills, not because they lack vocabulary, but because they hear half, and then they imagine the other half, and then they connect both, and then you get a completely different message. Yes,
true.
Yes, this happens as well. Anything else that was in that table that surprised you, maybe?
That probably that I set up my own learning routine.
That's cool.
My own learning practice. It was not completely new. It was your methods that you introduced, but I adjusted it towards my goal, and I wouldn't say even to my goal, but maybe more to my behavior in general,
and to your lifestyle,
and my lifestyle and my personality. So I am not that patient in general. So to work on a exercise, on a homework for more than 15 minutes was really a nightmare for me. So that was the time limit that I set for myself. So, and at one point, I used to have a 10 to 15 dry runs before recording a message for you. And during the course, I got that I need less time to record the message, and it took me only 3 to 4 dry runs, and that was usually my limit. So I either had 3 to 4 dry runs, or I invested 15 minutes, whatever comes first.
So you realized, if I understand you right, you realized that in order to make this practice sustainable and enjoyable, you need to come up
sustainable and enjoyable, and not to be so angry and exhausted as well.
Exhausted after doing the exercise. So you came up with a time limit. I'm not doing this for longer than 15 minutes.
True.
And I'm not doing more than 15 iterations. Or in your case, it was 3.
It was 3 to 4.
But you started with 9, you said, right?
I started with 15 iterations.
With 15. And it was like you got tired after 15, right?
Yeah.
It
was painful.
But this is an interesting approach if you think about it. Like, it's your life. Why do you need to do 20? Because somebody does 20. Right? And I always tell people...
I remember some girls in our group spent like 1 hour to record a 1 minute voice message. And I didn't want to spend so much time on it.
Well, it's also important to understand the motivation when people want to be perfect, even though you never get close to perfect when you're just starting out. It's a new skill for you. There. Yes, it's very new to you. So it makes no sense to exhaust yourself. I practice what I preach. I do it myself. I know that I don't have more than 20 minutes a day for this activity. And I know that after the 10th attempt, I'm going to get tired. And when I'm tired, I'm not productive. When I'm tired...
So your limit is 10 attempts.
It depends on what I'm doing.
For me, it was 3 to 4. Yeah.
Well, it depends. And I'm saying, it depends if I'm doing the exercise of reading out loud.
So I'm less patient.
Maybe. It depends if I'm working out, or if I'm running, or if I'm reading out loud. I love this exercise, but I usually will not do more than 7 iterations because after 7, I'm tired. When I'm tired, I cannot do well. So I'd rather, take her. Sure. And it doesn't mean that all these 7 attempts were in vain. I still did something, maybe I needed to warm up my muscles or whatever, but I will not go into it when I'm tired, exhausted, when I don't enjoy it anymore. Because, as I said, I want to make it sustainable for me.
And it's a lot about the process, not the final result as well.
The results are also important. It's just there are no final results.
There are never final.
I know also a lot of people, especially business owners, who say, "Oh, I'm all good. I've been taking English classes with a native speaker for the last 5 years, once a week. We just get on a phone call and we talk." And then I ask them, "Okay, so why are we having this conversation now?" I say, "Well, yes, really, when people start thinking about it, exactly. So I enjoy, or people listen to me for 5 years, right? Once a week. But at some point, what they say is that at some point, people forget that they have a teaching role, and they just start chatting, and it all becomes very casual. Mistakes are not getting corrected. People are becoming excellent at their mistakes because they repeat them again and again. And at some point, some people do it sooner, some people do it later. But after about 5 years, a lot of people ask themselves,
"It's way too long."
I have spent 5 years doing that. How have I improved? And this realization is painful.
Yeah, and that's why the progress review table is vital, and it makes sense to fill it out and to set the goals, realistic goals.
Not to set goals before you try. You see, we fill out the progress review only after we tried, not before.
Yeah, it was done in retrospect.
Yes, you look at it in retrospect. And when I realized myself that I can actually measure all this stuff, it became so much easier, and it was such a relief that I can actually look at real numbers. How am I improving? Am I improving?
Yeah, that's why in business KPIs are there.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to know some indicators to measure anything.
Yeah, exactly. This is so true. What are you going to do now? So you actually are telling us that you know what you can do. You have exercises that you know can help you. You already had this experience of having your own practice routine, and you just said that it would be a disaster to lose everything. Are you planning to get back on track? Are you planning to do anything to keep working on your English, or what's your plan now?
As soon as it's over, I'm going to invest more time into English, and so my practice would be very much alike compared to what we were doing in the past, because I know all the methods, and I can read, and I can read out loud, and I can do TED karaoke exercise, and I can also write, and I still can record myself and deliver voice messages even to myself. And you have a wonderful library that has so many things inside, and there is so much to practice on.
So do you believe it's a method that you can use continuously on your own to continue improving your English skills?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
And I think it's quite okay that sometimes our life priorities change. So let's say when I moved to Germany, my priority was very different. I needed to master German and I needed to get into the university, and that's fine. Now you're practicing your English. You still come back to what's important anyways. And I also had to come back to it. But I remember it was very painful and was a lot of stress.
Do you speak German sometimes?
I do. I practice my German skills just the same way I practice my English skills, because actually only when I improved...
Do you practice it daily?
No, not daily. No, not. But it's funny, it's funny now when I think about it, but only when I improved my German skills, I actually understood how I should be working on my English. Because the second foreign language gave me learning a second foreign language gave me a lot of insights of what I can do differently and how I can learn a language. Because when I moved to Germany, I was pretty much intermediate. I took German classes in the university, but when I came to the country, I realized that I don't understand anything that people are telling me. I mean, I understand some of it, but I can't make sense of it. And when I have to say something to people, it was
surprise.
When we have to deal with real situations, like you have to find an apartment, or you have to, I don't know, go to the supermarket and ask for the thing that you're looking for. And I just realized I can't. This is...
you simply don't have enough of vocabulary.
And then you understand... Then this is the question that I asked myself. What had I been doing all these years if I can't ask for the simple thing in a supermarket? What had I been practicing? So that was...
Yeah, I believe many students of English ask themselves this question when realizing how many years and decades they've spent learning the language they can't really use.
That was the turning point for me when I realized I had to change something now. Otherwise,
and you did it beautifully.
Otherwise I'm going to continue.
You got your master's degree in German.
Yes, I got my master's in Germany. Yes, exactly. I improved my German quite a lot, but even though it was never
which is already quite an adventure. Yeah,
but it was my German has never been as fluent as my English. I cannot teach in German, and in general, my English is a lot better than my German. But I haven't taken it that far, and then I moved back here, so I don't use German every day. But I'm sure that if I had continued, I would have improved. I would have continuously improved. Yeah, absolutely.
Once I'm done with my English practice, or I don't think I will be ever done with it, I would like also to return back to my German, because German is my second language as well.
Oh, that's true. You also speak some German.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful conversation. I hope you know the methods, you know the drill, you know the exercise, and you will find...
And I know where to go if I need to.
Yes, exactly. So I wish you all the best of luck with your exams.
Thank you so much for having me here.
And thank you so much for coming. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. You guys, thank you very much for watching this interview. If you have any questions for Ksenia or for me, please write them in the comments and we'll make sure to reply. See you in the next videos.